Soft skills can be learnt from books, during conversations, and in teams. We all need them, so how can you develop them? Let's explore.
Curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought it back. Maybe you've heard this phrase, and if you have, I want you to think about where you are curious. And since writing the article a couple of weeks ago, I've had the great fortune to come back to Australia, being Australian, to visit family for some special events. And this morning I got curious. I went out and I thought I'm going to take a walk, and there are some changes that have happened in Sydney since I lived here 11 years ago. And one of those big changes are those Lime bicycles. So maybe in your city we have in Vienna Lime scooters, which are relatively dangerous and people don't often like to use them. Here in Sydney, there are these Lime bicycles. They have helmets, they are easily accessible, and they're all over the city. So they're obviously endorsed by the city, which is wonderful. So this morning, I was curious to re-explore what it was like to ride a bike back in Sydney. And I used to be a cycling instructor before I moved to Europe, while being an opera singer at the same time. So there is a great program at the City of Sydney where they're really reinventing the city to make it really bike friendly with separated cycleways, bike paths, and all sorts of infrastructure support. I'm sure of which these Lime bicycles are a part of that strategy. So they had small sort of 10 to 14-inch wheels, electric motors, and I honestly, the smile is still on my face because I was filled with such curiosity to re-explore parts of my city, and I'm staying relatively close to where I used to live when I was here. So lucky me to be able to re-explore old things. Now, in your life, where do you get the chance to re-explore old things? That might be an old book that you haven't read for a while. Maybe there's a new piece of information that you could gather from that. Perhaps you're curious to re-explore a city that you want to visit, and as I've done, where you've lived, or maybe you've stayed for a significant amount of time. What does it feel like again now as you do that? Maybe you are curious to re-explore the tastes of coffee. So I was able to grab myself a double espresso. I know that coffee in Sydney is always delicious, always intense, a little bit better than Austria, I would say, unfortunately. Even though Vienna considers itself a coffee capital, I would say that the strength of Sydney coffee is certainly something to admire. But again, I'm curious to explore tastes, remind myself of cuisine from Australia, things like meat pies and sausage rolls, or certain types of donuts and things that we had as children. So I'm re-exploring with that curiosity what it's like to be a kid again. So I would encourage you over the summer period in Europe, perhaps you're exploring new places, to be really curious, to go down that street, that road less traveled, as Michael Scott Peck talked about years ago, to re-explore new things, to see how that might help you to grow as a person. And of course, as we're exploring, taking one point from my article, the 6 seconds learning philosophy, no way is the way, for me is crucial. That's the key to remember, that my experiences is mine, yours is yours, and therefore we're able to hold space for everyone's lives and experiences therefore. So be curious, but be curious for yourself, not to judge others or to make others feel less than. Just go for it for yourself and see how that challenges and changes your life. So enjoy a coffee where you are, enjoy a Lime bicycle if you have access to one, and hopefully, like a kid, you can relive the thrills of what it's like to have a first experience again.